A Vanguard study tracking 100,000 retirement accounts found that retirees who followed the famous 4% rule between 2000 and 2020 ran out of money 18% more often than the rule promised. 18%. That's not a rounding error. That's thousands of people who did everything right, followed the most quoted rule in personal finance, and still ended up calling their kids asking for help at 78 years old. And here's the part that should make you uncomfortable. The guy who actually invented the 4% rule, William Bengen, came out in 2024 and basically said, yeah, don't use it anymore. Hey, I'm Joe, and on this channel we cut through the finance noise so you can actually retire without spreadsheet anxiety. Today I'm going to show you exactly why the 4% rule is broken in 2026, what's quietly replacing it, and the 3 numbers you need to know before you ever pull a dollar out of your retirement account. Let's rewind for a second because you need to understand where this rule even came from. Back in 1994, a financial advisor named William Bengen published a paper in the Journal of Financial Planning. He looked at every 30-year retirement window going back to 1926, and he asked one simple question. What's the highest amount you can withdraw from a portfolio every year and not run out of money, no matter how bad the market gets? His answer was 4%. So if you retired with $1 million, you'd take out $40,000 the first year, then adjust that number for inflation every year after. According to his math, you'd survive even the worst 30-year stretch in American history. The financial industry loved this. It's clean, it's simple, it fits on a bumper sticker. And for about 20 years it became gospel. But here's the problem. Bengen's research was based on a very specific world. A world where 10-year treasury bonds paid 5 to 7% interest. A world where stock valuations were lower. A world where retirees lived on average to about 78. None of those things are true anymore. Pfau, a retirement researcher at the American College of Financial Services, ran the numbers again in 2023 using current market conditions. His conclusion? The safe withdrawal rate for someone retiring today is closer to 2.7%, not 4, 2.7. Let me translate that into real money. If you saved $1 million for retirement and used the original rule, you'd plan on $40,000 a year. Using Pfau's updated math, you should actually be planning on $27,000. That's a $13,000 a year pay cut on a budget that probably already feels tight. And Morningstar's 2024 retirement study landed in basically the same place. They put the safe rate at 3.7%, and only if you're willing to cut your spending in bad market years. So why is this happening? Why did a rule that worked for decades suddenly stop working? In a few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the 3-part replacement framework that researchers are actually using in 2026. It's not complicated, and once you see it, you can never go back to the old way of thinking. But first, let's talk about why the rule broke. Because if you don't understand the mechanism, you're going to make the same mistake with whatever rule comes next. There are 3 forces working against the 4% rule, and they all hit at the same time. The first one is called sequence of returns risk, and this is the thing that keeps retirement researchers up at night. Here's the idea. Imagine 2 retirees. Both have $1 million. Both withdraw $40,000 a year. Both earn the exact same average return over 30 years, let's say 7%. You'd think they'd end up in the same place, right? They don't, not even close. If retiree number 1 hits a bad market in their first 5 years, they could run out of money by year 22. If retiree number 2 gets those same bad years at the end of their retirement, they die with $2 million in the bank. Same average return, same withdrawal, wildly different outcomes. Why? Because when you're pulling money out of a falling portfolio, you're locking in losses. You're selling shares at fire sale prices to pay your grocery bill. And those shares aren't there to recover when the market eventually bounces back. Michael Kitzes, who runs one of the most respected financial planning research sites in the country, calls the first 10 years of retirement the danger zone. His research shows that if your portfolio loses more than 15% in those early years, your odds of running out of money basically double, no matter what you do later. So why does this matter so much in 2026 specifically? Because of force number 2, valuations. The Shiller PE ratio, which is basically a measure of how expensive the stock market is compared to its long-term earnings, is currently sitting around 35. The historical average is 17. We are at nearly double the normal level. That doesn't mean a crash is coming tomorrow. Nobody knows that. But what it does mean, statistically, is that future returns over the next 10 to 15 years are likely to be lower than the historical average Bengen used in his 1994 paper. Vanguard's own forecast, published in their 2025 Capital Markets Outlook, projects U.S. stocks returning between 3 and 5% annually over the next decade, not the 10% everybody quotes from the past century. And then there's force number 3, and this one's actually good news with bad implications. People are living longer. When Bengen wrote his paper, he tested 30-year retirements. But if you retire at 62 today, in good health, your odds of living past 95 are higher than they've ever been. The Society of Actuaries says a 65-year-old couple has a 50% chance that one of them lives to 92, a 25% chance one of them hits 97. So now you're stretching that same nest egg over 35 years instead of 30. And you're doing it in an expensive market with low expected returns. You can see how the math falls apart. Quick gut check. Does any of this sound like the retirement plan your parents had? Probably not. Because the playbook genuinely changed, and most advisors are still using the 1994 version. Okay, recap before we get into the solution. You've seen that the 4% rule was built for a world that no longer exists, and you've seen the 3 forces breaking it: sequence risk, sky-high valuations, and longer lifespans. But here's the part most people never figure out. There's already a replacement, it's been quietly tested by major institutions, and it works in a way that's almost the opposite of how the 4% rule works. It's called the dynamic withdrawal approach. And instead of one rigid number, it uses 3 flexible rules that adjust as your retirement actually unfolds. Let me walk you through it, step by step. Real numbers. Step 1. Start with what's called the guardrail rate. Originally developed by financial planner Jonathan Guyton and computer scientist William Klinger back in 2006, and updated multiple times since, the guardrail approach starts you at a higher initial withdrawal, usually around 5%, but with 2 firm rules. Rule 1. If your portfolio drops by 20% below where it should be, you cut your withdrawal by 10%. Rule 2. If your portfolio rises 20% above where it should be, you give yourself a 10% raise. So if you retire with $1 million, you start by withdrawing $50,000. If the market crashes and your portfolio drops to $700,000, your next withdrawal becomes $45,000 instead of $50,000. That $5,000 cut, painful as it sounds, dramatically increases the odds your money survives. Morningstar tested this against the 4% rule in their 2024 study. The guardrail method delivered, on average, 22% more lifetime income while having a lower failure rate. More money, less risk. That's not a trade-off. That's just a better system. Step 2. Build what retirement researchers call a cash bucket. This is the single biggest defense against sequence of returns risk. The idea is simple. You keep 2 to 3 years of living expenses in cash or short-term treasuries. Not invested, not in stocks, just sitting there, boring. When the market is up, you sell stocks to fund your withdrawals and refill the cash bucket. When the market crashes, you stop selling stocks entirely and just live off the cash bucket while you wait for the market to recover. If you need $60,000 a year to live, you keep $120,000 to $180,000 in cash. The rest stays invested. This one move, according to research from Christine Benz at Morningstar, can extend a portfolio's lifespan by 5 to 7 years in bad market scenarios. Step 3, and this is the one most people skip. Separate your essential expenses from your fun expenses and cover the essentials with guaranteed income. What does that mean in plain English? Add up what it actually costs you to live. Mortgage or rent, utilities, groceries, insurance, healthcare. Call that number your floor. For most retirees, the floor is somewhere between $35,000 and $55,000 a year. Then build guaranteed income to cover that floor. Social Security counts, a pension counts. A simple single premium immediate annuity, or SPIA, can fill any gap. Once your essentials are covered by income that shows up no matter what the stock market does, the rest of your portfolio can take more risk. and you can sleep at night during a 30% crash because you know your basics are paid for. Step 4, and this might be the easiest one, delay Social Security if you can. Every year you delay claiming Social Security past age 62, your benefit grows by roughly 8%. Guaranteed. Risk-free. Try finding 8% guaranteed anywhere else in 2026. You won't. If your full benefit at age 67 would be $2,500 a month, waiting until 70 bumps it to about $3,100. Over a 25-year retirement, that decision is worth somewhere around $180,000 in extra lifetime income. And it acts as longevity insurance. The longer you live, the more valuable that decision becomes. So let's tie this all together. The 4% rule isn't evil. It was a brilliant piece of research for its time. But the world it was built for, with high bond yields, cheap stocks, and shorter lifespans, doesn't exist anymore. Even Bengen himself has moved on. The new playbook has 3 pieces. Use a flexible withdrawal rate with guardrails, not a fixed percentage. Keep 2 to 3 years of cash so you never have to sell stocks during a crash. And cover your essential expenses with guaranteed income so the market can do whatever it wants and your life doesn't change. Here's the truth nobody in the finance industry wants to say out loud. Retirement planning isn't about finding one magic number. It's about building a system that bends without breaking. The 4% rule was a static answer to a dynamic problem, and that's why it's failing the people who trusted it most. If you're 10 years away from retirement, you have time to build this the right way. If you're already retired, you can shift to this framework over the next 12 months without blowing up your plan. The worst thing you can do, the absolute worst thing, is set a withdrawal number in 1994 and never look at it again. If this helped you think about retirement differently, hit subscribe. I make videos like this every week, breaking down the financial advice that's quietly out of date and showing you what actually works in the world we're living in now. Your future self, the one sitting on a porch at 85, financially calm, not stressed. That person is built by the decisions you make this year. I'll see you in the next one.